All right, Owner Builders Unite. Here we go with our week's topic is concrete floors versus earthen floors. And we're going to do a pros and cons list of concrete floors and a pros and cons list of earthen floors. And in my house, I have two earthen floors with some concrete going in there. And Pete's got concrete floors in his house. And we're going to let Pete take it off.
Yeah, so number one advantage of concrete floors is they can potentially be pretty fast. You can get them done in a day, whether that's getting a cement truck or a concrete truck hauled in and called in. And I think my back slab part, we did it with like 4 of us.
And today I just did a concrete pour. It was 10 yards, and we were 2 separate rooms with a line pump. You can do line pumps with earthen, but it's just way more common to do it with concrete, and we got it done in a day, 4 guys.
Yeah. Another thing is it's more durable, or it's pretty durable. It's pretty heavy duty. I have a wood stove. A lot of people here in Crestone that I've seen with cement floor or concrete floors, people will, break up kindling with their little splitting axe right there on the slab. If you drop something, you don't got to worry about it chipping. If you drop something, it might, versus a earthen floor, it might chip or whatnot. So it's pretty durable. Definitely less labor. And again, the trucks of getting it trucked in, if you don't mix it all by hand, it can get done quick. What else?
You can do, there's a lot more products with concrete out there. It's a little easier to get your hands on some products, maybe more options with finishes. You can stamp them, you can stain it, you can do all sorts of things, put carpet over it, put tile over it. And yeah, it's just easier to find that stuff. And you can add your tensile strength. You can go 35, 100 PSI, 4,000 PSI. So you can adjust your strength.
And to a certain extent, if you're like us and an owner builder and having other friends and neighbors come over and help, a lot of people, I would say more people have experience with concrete floors and earthen floors.
It's totally true. And you can use magnesium to make that stuff float up on the top to get the cream come up, where that's a little bit harder with an earthen floor. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. So those are a couple of the pros. How about some cons for concrete, Matt?
Well, it can get pretty expensive depending on your options. There's the options are almost endless, and it can get pretty expensive. You can also keep it cheap if you're doing it at home, mixing it yourself.
Yeah. So different types of finishes. You can spend a lot of money and crews and all sorts of equipment to do it, or you can, certainly do it a little bit more DIY. Another thing is it can be kind of toxic, whether that's you're mixing it by hand or something like that, and you're pouring, and you got 2 or 3 mixers going in a big crew, and you got cement powder pouring in and breathing it in. That can be toxic. It could also be, even if you don't do it that way and you just got a regular concrete truck, it can be certainly, if you get it on your skin, it can burn you if you don't wash it off after a couple hours. So lots of times new people that have never done concrete before will get it up on there, splashing around and getting it on your arm or whatever, your shorts if you don't have long pants. So it can certainly burn you, and it's not fun.
It really dries my hands out. I just did a big pour today, and my hands are pretty dry. Even though I wore gloves, you just touch it once, you touch them with water in it. For me, dries my hands out. If I get the powder on my neck, my neck gets itchy if I don't, get it off, take a shower, put some vinegar on there to get it off.
And then I would say one of the things I hate most about my concrete floor, even though there's plenty of advantages, like we said, is it's really hard to walk on. So when it's all said and done and you're living in your house and you're, walking on the floor, it's a lot harder on your feet, on your, if you're walking around. I have rugs that are laid out throughout my house, so that way some parts are a little bit easier in the sense of just on your bare feet or whatever. So I don't like that aspect of it.
And obviously the environmental impact of Portland cement is undeniably, it's there. It impacts the environment pretty hard. There's dust pollution, large amounts of carbon dioxide. It's pretty much you're heating up limestone and other materials to extreme temperatures to get it. And I recommend watching how it's made, Portland cement. I just think it's super interesting. It takes a lot of heavy equipment to get it out. I run a heavy equipment company, so I'm not hating on it. I'm just saying if you're into the environmental impact of your building materials, then maybe consider going with earthen floors. And that's part of the reason why me and Goldie went with earthen floors for our place.
Nice. So, Matt, what do you think some of the pros of the earthen floor are?
So for me personally, I love the feel of an earthen floor. How do you like them,
Oh,
Pete?
I love walking on them.
Yeah, they're great. They're nice and soft. They're super homey. You can take, I mean, you take your shoes off, and it's just it just feels cozy and it's nice.
They're also natural materials. So, like what I was saying with the cement and the concrete, where it can be toxic, whether it's burning you or Matt saying getting it on your hands and feeling dried out, you don't feel that way when you are mixing earthen plasters or any sort of cob, and it's not going to burn you like cement would.
Yeah, it's totally non-toxic if you're going all natural. And I think they're fun to do. Pete's been on plenty of earthen floor pours, plenty of stuff like that, and I just think it's great. I think it brings community together. And what do you think? Have you?
I agree. I think I've poured some with you. I've poured some with Robin, some other folks. It takes a group of people to do it, but it's a fun time. And again, it's kind of a labor intensive thing. So you don't have to have necessarily a lot of experience with some specific of it. Although obviously, someone on the crew's going to. So
It's got those real solid family vibes. And honestly, it can be cheaper depending on where you're at. If you can source the material off of your own land or source most of the material off of your own land, it can be totally cheaper. You can just, you can use all sorts of stuff. You can use cow manure, wheat. You can make your own wheat paste. It's really like homey feel vibe with the materials if you get lucky with clay content on your property.
and it's something that's been done for thousands of years. So it's kind of maintaining a tradition, which is a cool thing to think about. And there's floors out there all across the world that, if maintained right over hundreds, if not 1,000+ years, they're still going. So
Yeah, it's got the more feel good energy to it. And so, what do you think about some cons?
cons, it's certainly it's more labor intensive in ways where you can't necessarily as easily get it trucked in. To a certain extent, you might need a whole bunch of people with certain mixers going, and kind of like we said, the same thing like a work party. So if you're people limited, it might take a little bit longer.
Yeah, and another con for me is, in our house, you just got to be really careful. Like, I'm pretty crazy about people walking on it with shoes on. I don't really like that much. They can chip up pretty easy. If you start scraping them, it's a slippery slope. And there's a place for them. You don't really want an earthen floor, which I recommend you don't really want, is in an entryway in a mud room where people are going to have wet boots, or under, kitchen sinks, bathroom sinks. I feel like you want kind of more of a cement-based product. I've seen nightmares. Our friends out in Casita Park had a really bad earthen floor experience where it just came up on them.
I would say, yeah, it's easier to mess up. If that's an easy way to say it. Concrete and mixing concrete is a pretty easy ratio to get down. And especially if you get it trucked in, it's like pre-mixed almost. You just add how much water you want. So you can't mess it up, if you will, but like you can certainly mess up earthen floor pours if you don't have as much experience. It could crack. And again, going back to the time consuming section of it, there's a lot of finishing after you pour it. Matt, talk about, what type of finishing did you do? Days.
If you don't get your first mix down and your floor starts to crack, you got to work out your cracks, and then you got an Elise coat on top. I mean, there's a 100 different ways to do an earthen floor, and everyone has their own way. And it's really hard to find the detail aspects of those earthen floors. Like Pete said, it's really straight up, 3-2-1 concrete mix. But with an earthen floor, you got to do shaker jar tests. You got to do test blocks. You got to do all sorts of things that you would never have to do with concrete. And then finishes. You got to oil your floor. You got to wax your floor. Sometimes you got to wax your floor multiple times in a year. And then, every year for a few years, it takes a lot more. It's a labor of love for sure. And yeah, it definitely takes longer, and it's more of an experimental process to do earthen floors.
Yeah, I think those are the most of the disadvantages with it. We do both, me and Matt, love earthen floors. He has some, I don't, but I think it's such a cool thing. And again, a tradition of if you're able to do it, it's awesome. If you can't do it and you want to get it done quicker, I think concrete's also a good option too. Both function really good for thermal mass. So any sort of passive solar, if you have sunlight hitting it, whether it's earthen or concrete, it's going to heat up and retain mass. So
yeah, and really on our list here, the cons of an earthen floor have kind of been a bigger section, and we just want to highlight that we do promote earthen floors. We want you to get out there and do your own thing and put that labor in. And I think it's way more fun and way more exciting. And the more you figure out and share with us, the more we can share with everybody else and figure out ourselves. Because I think that preserving that type of building mentality here in Crestone is important to us, and
big time.
And we just want to see you guys succeed with natural building.
Yeah. And hopefully we get some more of these sit-down podcast type of style talks and demonstrations. I know you guys have asked for a lot of them before, and it's the winter time, so things are a little bit slow now and then for filming other footage, but we are going to try to touch base on some of the other topics you guys ask about.
All right, Owner Builders Unite. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Like and subscribe, please, for more content.